I stopped therapy.
Because let's tell them why you stopped therapy.
I was really waiting for a diagnosis, okay? Because I was like, been talking to this guy for 2 years now. He's not told me anything. So I was like, so, what's wrong with me? And he was like, I think you're just a brat. Hi guys, welcome back to Moment of Silence Pod. I'm Sakshi Shivdasani.
I'm Nana Bhan, and before we go ahead, can we just wish Sakshi a happy birthday?
Thank you. Don't be fooled, I'm not shooting on my actual birthday. I
No one
would
was fooled, don't worry. Everyone knows this was done on a different day, and Sakshi should not be disturbed.
No. Please disturb me. Please disturb me by wishing me. But thank you so much for starting. I did celebrate my birthday yesterday, and I do have to say that it was an amazing day, and Nana played a very pivotal role in making this day as amazing as it was.
Thank you so much. I don't want to take all the credit. It was a lot of fear that Sakshi instilled over the last 6 months in her own partner. And that fear was then finally turned into some useful energy. And I'm going to just assume that your popcorn for the week is a very cute.
My popcorn for the week is actually that you became viral.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was saving that.
Oh,
Because
sorry.
it's fine.
Oh, Nana is a national crush, and my popcorn is that I get to sit next to her every day of my life.
Well, my popcorn is that I'm pregnant.
Shut the fuck up.
Guys, I am pregnant with a passion for being present at cricket stadiums. One would call it a one night stand, but I call it the best evening in a stand at a cricket
Where
stadium.
the fuck did you find it?
On Amazon, bro.
really?
एक opportunity मिलती है life में. That also people thought was PR.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me just order.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was insane. That was going back in my ass crack. That was insane. Listen, guys. So Sakshi and I went to Chennai to watch a cricket match, India versus Zimbabwe, and we did not know anything about cricket. There we are posers, okay? We sat at the airport. We looked at all the billboards for cricket. Then we realized none of the people on the billboards were playing. So then we sat and we Wikipedia'd and we checked who is part of the team. And we
Yeah.
went in with full, like, we're like, okay, now we know we are Team India.
Yes.
We're sitting at the
Now
match.
we know.
We're sitting at the match. Everyone's like, okay, we had a little gag. We were supposed to make a reel. So we were like, what if we're the people that get discovered at the match? We started making rage baiting reels where we were going to be like, maybe if you just like hit the ball, it would
It's
work.
like if it were me, I would just hit all sixes.
Yeah. And then we go home. We have this crazy schedule where we wake up at 3 a.m. And we head back to Mumbai. And I wake up and suddenly people are like, hey, you're going viral on X. And I'm like, what? And it turns out that I am.
The national crush.
And dude, it is so nice to finally be able to admit that I think I'm good looking.
Dude,
I've been holding on to the secret for many years.
I was literally just about to say, like, Naina kind of ignores that she is the most stunning person ever, and she puts in hard work.
Too much hard work.
And then she goes viral in something that she was just like, casually laughing. Like, just like laughing, living her life. And then this is how people used to get like discovered. This is how Naomi Campbell got
Yes.
discovered.
But here's the kicker. There was a whole storyline about how I was doing this for Abhishek Sharma. Why was I smiling year to year? I was recording a reel for the one and only MVP, Sakshi Shivdasani. It was a viral reel, less viral than my reel, but viral nonetheless, which was, why is everyone, what is it?
It's like, why is no one cheering for fours when I walk in or some shit like that? And in the middle of that, I was like, oh, they'll cheer for me now. And then someone actually hit a four. So Naina turned around to be like, and that's what got captured.
So, the best thing in life, never ignore your female friends, no matter which cricketer is present, no matter what opportunity is present, because trust me, you will unlock success. That's my...
she's very successful, dude, and she still took out time to plan. Imagine she's going viral and she's taken out the time to plan a treasure hunt for me across Bandra.
Sakshi's popcorn. Please tell us about what happened so that I can give you my review of what happened actually.
Shit. Okay, so basically, around last week, my boyfriend was like, "Oh, what do you want for your birthday?" I said, "I want to be surprised. Like, this is what I want." And then, unbeknownst to me, because like my boyfriend's a delegator. I don't think he's a planner. And he found the best person to plan this with, Nena. And then somehow yesterday he tells me, like, I had a Pilates class planned for all my girlfriends at 1 p.m. He tells me at 11 o'clock, "Listen, be ready in half an hour. I have a surprise planned." And I was like, "Oh, so I'm just going to guess the surprise and that's what the surprise is going to be because I'm sure you've not planned anything." And in the middle of that, I was like, "Let's go to Food Square. I want to pick up cheese." And he was like, "Shut the fuck up. You don't need cheese, whatever." And I was like shit talking him. I was like, "Is it a billboard? Is it this? Is it that?" And he was just like, I was like, "Is it shopping related?" He said, "No." "Is it sushi related?" He said, "No." I was like, "Then it's not interesting." But then he's being really shady about it. Like, he had a little card with him, but he took it with him to the bathroom, and I was like, I'm not that interested. But then he handed me the card, and it was a poem, and it was a clue actually, which took me to one of my favorite places. And then we basically picked up all my friends at all these clues, and it was like a whole thing from Bandra, and it ended at Juhu at the Pilates thing, and it was so exciting. Like, it was so exciting.
I now know what it feels like to be a CIA operative because it is one, very difficult to be undercover, two, to make 6 people stand in one location at the right
Bro.
time. By the time we've reached the third stop, Sakshi's one friend has woken up. He's like, "Bro, are we on time?" That guy's been like partying till 7 a.m. He comes reeking of tequila. He's like scarfing down a pasta, and we find him wild.
Yeah.
It was too good. And Sakshi, for someone who wants to be surprised, will make an active effort to kill every surprise that she finds. Any surprise with a pulse, Sakshi like detonate. Okay, Sakshi from the first clue, she's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck? What is this? What the fuck?" Okay, then suddenly after she figures out what it is, she's gone on her phone and gone to find
I
my
did not
friends.
do that. No,
She's checking
I did
everyone's
not do
location.
that.
She's like, "Oh, my bua hasn't moved. She's not part of the plan." And all of us are fitting into this car like sardines in the back because we love Sakshi so much. And she turns around and she's like, "I have never seen a car this stuffed." It's like, what the fuck?
No, but it was so fun. Like, I've never been happier.
The thing is that when there's a person in your life that makes such an impact, then you go out of your way to figure out how to see them smile, and to watch Sakshi smile, which I know she did privately. We kept asking Arjun for pictures because we wanted to see proof that she smiled, was just the best experience. From this, coming to my flopcon, the end of Sakshi's birthday, which was my worst experience ever. I don't know if you guys have played this game, but I think it was created by a bunch of high school bullies who were traumatized by their parents.
Did you create it?
No, I didn't. So it's a game called Paranoia. I don't know if you've played it. It essentially is supposed to make everyone in the room paranoid, okay? And
Nena.
all of Sakshi's friends are sick in the head. And I don't want to be part of that friend group.
It was like 5 people who wanted to play this Paranoia game, which is very bitchy. Like, you whisper a question in someone's ear and they have to answer. Like, it's like, "Oh, who's the ugliest?" or something like that. Just an example. And you have to answer someone in the group. But they don't know the question. They only know that their name has been said. Then they play rock, paper, scissors with the person who answered their name. And if the person who answered wins, they never know the question, creating paranoia and otherwise creating a fight.
Because if the other person wins, you have to know the question.
You have to know the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
The questions. Who do you think is most likely to have an STD?
Okay. And no one was offended. But the thing is, there were 12 people there. Now, 6 people wanted to play the game, and the other 6 have anxiety. Like, genuine, diagnosed, medicated anxiety. And somehow they were being Like they were like, guys, we don't want to play. We don't
were
want to
being
play.
targeted. I repeat.
What question did you get?
The question that came on me: who's most likely to be in a threesome?
No. Who's your favorite person in the room? You
Did
forgot.
not come on.
Yes,
Oh, Arjun.
Arjun
Yeah, because
did
Arjun is the
answer.
other person with anxiety. So I, the entire time I'm trying to co-opt the other half of the room. I'm like, why don't we ask uplifting questions? Who inspires confidence in you? Who?
And then,
And they're all like, shut up, stop ruining the game.
and then when Naina, someone answered Naina. Naina was like, it's
Dude,
is sushi pan available? I don't think anyone heard that.
look, this thing happened so slowly that
Bro,
I
she
was
left.
I left. I don't know what I realized. Maybe it was my period, but I by the end of it was feeling so targeted that by this hate crime, that's what I can describe.
You got who's most likely to get into a threesome,
Yeah.
and who's your favorite person in the room.
Okay, how do you know that that question is coming? Okay, because someone's like la 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 la, and they're like Naina, and I'm like fuck, fuck. बहुत जोर से फट रही है मेरी. And by the time someone answered that that's the question, I had tears in my
She was
eyes.
like, thank you.
And I left. I was so upset. I was like, I feel like a little bit of a loser for cutting early, but I've been emotionally
no.
traumatized by all of Sakshi's friends.
You know, some of my friends have been emotionally traumatized by you. It's just so
I understand the payback. Welcome back to our podcast in another 3 to 6 months where I roast you for 1 hour.
Ooh.
Anyway.
But I had a great time.
Oh, love it.
Oh, we do have a jar.
This is our overextending jar.
Oh.
You can tell this was designed by a man.
It doesn't even fit
Oh,
your
it's such
phone.
a big phone. Okay, just imagine. I put a Bitcoin in there. Okay, should we come to our topic at hand?
Let's come to our topic at hand. On this auspicious occasion, we are going to be talking about women's careers and how sometimes, not all times, they are affected by men.
Okay, this is called the Matilda effect, and it traces its roots to STEM degrees and the STEM fields where a lot of female scientists often had to have their credit stolen from them for very amazing work that they've done, like Rosalind Franklin, who did amazing work in X-ray diffraction for double helix DNAs. And then her work was stolen by 2 men, and then she never got any credit for it. And then
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, it would be so cool if like a bunch of, if we could rewrite history and look at history through a different lens of what if Einstein was a woman? What if,
So Einstein actually discredited his wife a lot in her works. Like she was his co-author on a lot of things, and he just took the credit. So you know how when people are like, "Oh, if women are so great, then how are all the inventions in the world made by a man?" It's because they're not. Like a lot of them are like made together, and then they are like women are erased from the subject at hand. Like, do you know Mahatma Gandhi?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm familiar with this
familiar,
word,
yeah. So he credited his wife actually quite publicly that when they would get into an argument, she would use like means like passive resistance, and like she was just like silent treatment and all.
Yeah.
And he went on and he was like, this is so great. Like, because how do you fight this, right? And then he used this in his freedom struggle, and actually we are free.
Yeah. And since then, the freedom struggle has been called a movement, and women's struggles continue to be called struggles, you know? And so I was just thinking about this in my own life, and I feel like maybe Sakshi, you put across this image of being somebody who never backs down and never self-censors. Is that something that you relate to at all as a topic?
No, I feel like I have you.
Yeah, I have
Really?
actually.
Okay.
Biggest L to my credit amongst my other L credits was that actually in my bachelor's, I was supposed to go and study fashion design at NIFT, but it was in a different city. So I ended up saying, oh, actually, I don't want to study this. I need to pursue my academics. And I went and studied history at Delhi University.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's not something I like to publicize, but it is something that happened in my life. And that same boyfriend also ended up, funnily enough, I had written this really lovely, I can't remember what it was about, but this essay, and I had published it on my blog, and he just picked up my essay and he submitted it and he passed a class.
That's fucked.
Yeah.
Dude, one time when I was in the 5th grade, my mom's friend's son asked me for some help with my homework, and we were in the same class. And I sent him my notes, and there was an essay in that I had written. And when he was copying my homework, he copied the essay, but his roll number came before mine. So everyone thought that was his essay. And then after that, when my roll number came, my teacher was like, it's exactly the same.
Was it also on the double helix DNA?
It was not. I can't remember what it was for, but I went home and I created hell. I told my mom, I was like, if I see you talking to that mother again. They're still friends. Don't stress,
Love that.
guys.
A lot of people wrote in saying similar things. So one person wrote in, which ended me. She's like, this guy basically stole my entire research on cancer and named it as his.
What?
Yeah, blog post tak theek tha, but
Like,
cancer
yeah.
research is a bit much. And how do you go to bed at night stealing someone else's work?
Yeah. I mean, I to get stressed even if, like, you're doing a trend on Instagram and it looks very similar to some, because it is a trend.
Yeah.
It's like, what if I'm told that, oh, someone else made this before? But like, research people of cancer, like, I feel like they're so sure that they're going to get away with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, who would have the audacity to do it?
I guess then it's like a lifelong or generationally long thing of, and I think in a weird way, we also feel that where you just don't want to believe what women have to say in the first go, whether it's in a court of law, whether it's at a police station, whether it's within your household, whether it's at your office place, whether it's in an educational institution, whether it's in a podcast. We have sat for 2 years and built a framework for women to talk with no agenda. And when we started, the backlash was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, people have done a lot worse. They've been to jail and come out and are chilling on the streets. 2 women talking about their love life, sometimes getting a bit graphic. and-
Vilified.
Yeah, fully vilified. Which, by the way, also turned because we kept pouring into the internet. We kept pouring into the internet because we were like, you know what? At some point, this tide will turn. At some point, we'll just be allowed to have the conversations we want to have.
When?
And now we have them, but we
Yeah.
don't have subscribers. So please subscribe to this podcast, follow us, hype us. And
I
yeah,
think it's unfeminist to not follow us.
I really think it's unfeminist not
In
follow
fact, I
us.
would go as far as to say it's misogynist.
I would agree
Yeah.
with you.
Like you and Trump, same person.
There goes my US visa. Yeah, but I
Sorry,
don't
I'll
want it
change
anyway.
it.
No, I want it, please. Okay, another person said,
You think Trump sits and does US visa ka thappa himself?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Sorry, Trump G.
I would not be surprised. I feel like, have you noticed the busiest people in the world have the most free time?
Yeah. Yes.
And that's not a personal attack.
No,
Not
not
at
at all.
all.
When do I have free time? Tell me.
That's true. You're always using your time. We were sitting right here with all of our files, all of our research documents, everything. Sakshi sitting there with a brand new iPad. Don't think I didn't clock it. And
It's pink.
It's pink. And she's doing this. I'm like, wow, this iPad has made her like really give into
Productive.
this job. And she's downloading Zomato.
Yeah. Because I'm going to eat at some point and y'all don't eat on shoot days, which is why things go a little foggy in the second episode.
Okay. Another person said, and this is super petty. I wrote a funny Instagram bio, and my coworker went and made it his WhatsApp status.
Dude, that's the most irritating kind, because how can you actually, in earnest, say, you can't steal my Instagram bio. But it hurts
It
because
hurts.
you came up with it. It's like, when you say a joke and then someone says it louder.
Yeah.
Now, how much can you credit yourself for one joke that's been made in history 45 times?
And
But
it's like, if you guys are arriving at the same joke, was it a good joke to begin with?
begin.
It was too obvious. Everyone shared this one brain cell, and that's where this entire thing ended.
yeah, but it's still like, you're like, right now, I came up with it first.
What I really enjoy about content creation, though, is the fact that for the first time in beauty, because we're doing beauty and lifestyle, there aren't that many men around.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious that a guy wouldn't know anything about foundation and swatching lipsticks and things like that. And if that is how I can be free, then I will swatch lipsticks all day. I don't care if I'm not contributing to society in any bigger way than swatching lipsticks, as long as I am free.
So fair. You remember that trend in the beginning, which was like, okay, this mascara is waterproof. It's just like, okay, ladies, now that the men have gone.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what they were trying to do because they're like, men are not going to care about this mascara or swatches.
I mean, we did that in our own Spotify ad, if you remember.
Oh, yeah. Crazy.
We've lived
But
so
they
many
cared
lives.
because it was a non-skippable ad. You know, this question, I feel like we have to ask ourselves also, have you ever cancelled a meeting to be there for your partner? I don't think I've cancelled a meeting as such, but I think about this so often where when I'm scheduling my day, if I know that my partner is going to be free tonight, then I'm going to make sure, even though we don't have any plan as such, I'm going to make sure that my whole day is arranged so that 7 to 9 I'm available in the case that he is actually free. Or for example, if my boyfriend has gym on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but Tuesday, Thursday, I know in the evenings his plan is fluid. So I'll try to like do dinners or something on those 3 days. So, and not like he is like if his friend hits him up on a Tuesday or Thursday, he's still free because he hasn't thought of that. And but I feel like women do end up doing that, right? Even if you fight with your boyfriend and you haven't spoken the whole day, instead of trying to like stack up plans and occupy yourself, we end up waiting for the full day in the hopes that if he wants to reconcile, he will make an effort and I cannot be busy at that time.
Yeah, that's a habit I've really sat and tried to unlearn.
Same.
Because of course you derive a lot of joy from seeing the person that you love and going on a date. Like, who doesn't want to get that dopamine fix? But if it always comes at the cost of your
Plan.
your productive time, your constructive time, your time that you could have devoted to your family, to your friends, to your dog, to your work, then it feels like too much of a sacrifice. And when it hurts the most is when it goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest irony I see with a lot of my very, very hyper independent female friends who are with amazing partners, that the one thing, and it's such a basic thing that their partners do for them that make them feel happy, is that they acknowledge the work that the women put in.
Yeah.
And so these women are continuing to go into the workplace and do what they have to do, continuing to take the extra domestic load just because he acknowledged and he sees and he witnesses the work that they do.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's so basic.
It's so easy.
Yeah, because there are my other friends where the partner has no idea because maybe generationally their mothers have made their work invisible. They'll say things like, oh, I had a baby. Next day I was back at work.
Yeah.
Oh, after my surgery.
Itna kya hai?
Yeah, I ran a half marathon. Like, that's fucking it up for your future
Yeah.
daughter-in-law, because then your son is taking everything as a given.
Yes.
And there's enough space for everybody. Like, we all come from different families, and it somehow always happens that the very opposite families ke bacche fall hardly in love with each other.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're the parents that are fighting loudly and bickering in your house, and the other side is like these mute people who don't share their feelings. And then when you swap houses, you're like, what the fuck? This is a crazy place. How do they live like this?
Like everyone should be in a straight jacket.
Yeah. And I feel like that is the most underrated and the most relevant love language. It's too easy.
Yeah. But on the other side, you know, that has to come from the samne wala.
Yeah.
You can't be like, but I did this, and it's all. It seems like such small tasks, like I switched off the AC. All these, like when I'm thinking from the perspective of when we used to go out as a family.
Yeah.
My mom used to be in charge of shutting the house down before you leave the house. And my mom was obviously always 5 minutes later than all of us because she was the one who was making sure everyone's clothes were ironed, the
gas
iron
is
was
off.
off, the gas is off, the AC is off when you leave the house, as well as look presentable to leave the house. So and my sister and I were just like putting on our clothes, and my dad was putting on his clothes, and like it's like, oh, mom's always late, like mama, we're always waiting for mama. But then now she can't be like, but I had to switch off the gas, I had to switch off the AC, because all of those tasks only take a second. But we know that, like, that's literally how time works. Things add up.
Or the converse, where sometimes I feel like when two genders are comparing their resumes, inevitably the woman has shown something that shows 5 years of work ex, and then the man has shown something that looks like a padded internship.
Yeah.
Things like first prize in school 3-legged race competition.
Yeah.
It's just like, and this one is like MBA, this, that. It's like sometimes I ask, like I'll ask my brother, I'll be like, okay, what did you do today to contribute around the house? मैं जल्दी उठ गया 10 बजे तक, फिर मॉम हैड ऑलरेडी लेफ्ट, तो मैंने अपने लिए अंडे बनाए. देन आई थॉट अबाउट कि मैं बाहर से कपड़े ले आऊँगा, बट जब मैं बाहर गया मम्मी ने कपड़े ले लिए थे. सो इट्स लाइक दिस, लाइक
Yeah.
you know, this world where things are happening and you think that you are part of it, but it is latent unemployment, as our class 9 textbook would say. And that's a big problem in India and continues to be in 2026. But the only difference is now these unemployed people are highly educated.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw Life of Pooja's reels of how the girls in her village are all getting educated, and then they don't want to marry because they know what benefits come with education. But the boys were always put into work, or put into sent to the city to work very early on. So they have earned, but they haven't gotten educated. So they want like a good wife to come and take care of them, and their mentality is still what it was when we were like few generations ago. But the women are educated, so they want to go to the city and study and not
Work.
and work. Yeah. So there's a big disparity in the what men want and how they're raised actually versus how women are raised.
So how would you look at it in your life? Now, suppose you end up at some point getting married,
Yeah.
staying with a partner. How do you divide the responsibility? Because you're entering this relationship having had a very illustrious career.
I feel like my main switch on, switch off needs to be like, if something is not done, it is just that it is not done. It's not that my grandmother came from partition and she stitched clothes for people, and then my mom did this, and now I'm going to tolerate if someone hasn't switched on the washing machine. You know, I can't carry that generational trauma with me. And it just like, and the thing is, just the washing machine not being on is irritating enough. It doesn't have to become like a generational, like, how can me, like, you know, this daughter of someone who's been raised to be independent, like, put on the washing machine for someone. Like, you know, it can just be like, hey, you're being a bum, switch on the washing machine. And I think that's something I'm actively trying to unlearn. Even you've seen how, like, when Sushi does something wrong as well, I'm not able to be like, okay, this is just something that he's done idiotically. Like, it's like he has basically disrespected me, and how can I, you know, it's like that whole, like, I feel like I carry so much of that burden with me. And I think a lot of women from this generation do carry that burden, because we are doing a lot of things for the first time, as I keep saying, and men are just like, itna kya hai, like, you know, isme itna kya hai. So it's I don't know. I'm trying to take things lighter, but at the same time, I am trying to assert my like this, as stupid as it seems, is a non negotiable for me. But I just have to stop assigning malintent to everything that men do.
Yeah. We were discussing this recently, which is that we can't put the entire weight of the patriarchy on our relationship and
Yeah.
take out every, fear, insecurity, and vulnerability we might feel as a gender on our partner, because there's only so much that guy can do. Actually, yesterday after your birthday, I was thinking about it. I was like, 100 episodes, we've bashed a lot of men, and it's been satisfying. But I also have to acknowledge that uh, all the women in my life have found really wonderful partners, and they
Yeah.
balance them out in very, very unique ways. And neither the wife or the husband or the girlfriend or the boyfriend are perfect people, but they want to learn and they want to be aware and they want to make up for things that they have seen that don't work for them.
Yeah, I think also it helps that just a small act of not being offended when your girlfriend or your wife is a man hater, or like going like, is this play about me? Or just going like, you can't say that. Isn't that femcelly? Then what's like, or just going on the Andrew Tate side of things because women are on the femcelly side of things. Because I do somewhere believe that even when women are male bashing, they are male bashing the patriarchy, not individual men. But men take it like, ye aurat, this one. So I feel like that's the disparity. And then just like a little bit of using your brain for men, I was like, oh, not all. And I do also think that men who are around women, who get to date women, who are endorsed by women, are not as bitter about not getting women, so they are not as insanely.
Hmm. If you're a guy watching this, it's a great hack to find a woman in your life that you are inspired by and not try to date them. Just have them in your life.
Yeah.
See what they're doing. Try and feel inspired by them, because there's also this very masculine way that we look at success and how to achieve success and how to achieve dreams. And I don't think that that's the way everyone does it. Like, men achieving success is always painted as this picture of you gotta crack a few eggs to do this, and you gotta be a shark, and you gotta be
Yeah.
fucking aggressive. There are enough and many examples of gentle success, women millionaires, billionaires, who are doing all of it in a very emotionally intelligent way, and it would be really nice to draw from that.
Yeah. But do you also think our generation of women is like, we want our men not to be traditionally masculine in the harmful ways, but in the benefits that it provides us, we want them to be traditionally masculine?
So I've sat with that a lot, and I think that's something that I don't want to fall into that trap. Why did I start looking at, and this has happened, I think this is again like a algorithm thing where I grew up my whole life idealizing financial independence and being able to spend on myself. And then when I reached that point, I started feeling bad that my partner's not spending on me. But I waited so long to unlock this for
Yeah.
myself. Now I'm like, no, because the internet has said that every date should be paid for by a man and
Then I,
this thing should be done by a man. Well, there are lots of things that we don't do, and we'll discuss it in the next episode. I still depend on I still need a man to tell me how to do my finances.
same.
I need my CA to be there for me, to hold my hand. I wish my dad was here to hold my hand when I'm buying a car.
Yeah.
There are these things that we see as traditionally masculine, where we're not like, okay, I'm not going to make the effort to figure this out, but I'm going to do it in this sexy way where I get to have a career and I get to then do everything, right? Don't be
Yeah.
selective again, like with what patriarchy you're going to change and what patriarchy you're too scared to because you're just a little girl.
That's true. Yeah. So just a little girl. It's like almost 30.
Yeah, I'm just a
Actually.
little baby.
No, I do think I'm also very dependent on my father for my finances. And I feel like I've outsourced a lot of the boring stuff about being an independent person so that I can do the whole like I'm an independent person. But when I say that, it's just that I earn enough money to sustain myself. I can't cook. I can't do my taxes. I can't invest for myself. I can't any big life decisions I'm not allowed to make. Like
By yourself.
by myself, or Like I do have to go home and talk to my parents about every financial. So like I'm independent in the sense that I pay my own rent and I live by myself. But the TDS on my rent also my dad has to call and explain to me every month. So technically I'm not independent.
Yeah. I sit and I've become so much better now. Every time I
Yeah.
sit with my CA on call, I'm crying. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand what he's saying. And I've
Yeah.
heard it 70 times now and I still don't understand what he's saying. And I'm like, at one surely one day, like you know how Sanju slept on his book and he attained all the information in Shakalaka Boom Boom. Like what if one I just want that
Osmosis.
osmosis to happen where these numbers make sense to me. But they
N-
never do.
No, so my dad obviously he does my finances, and I was over that day and there was some car loan guys at home, and my dad was just like talking to them for 30-45 minutes, and I was like, you're so boring. Like you're literally I've come after like a week, I want to hang out and whatever. And he told me, actually he didn't tell me, I was like, it was obvious. If he doesn't do it, then when will it be done?
Yes.
Because am I going to do it? No. Is my mom going to do it? No. My sister. And the worst thing in the world is coordinating three people at the same time. It's absolutely a nightmare. You try coordinating a VFast delivery, bro, it pisses you off. And my dad is coordinating my schedule when my phone is available for the OTPs. The loan guys, he's coordinating his own schedule. Even right now, as I'm speaking, he's messaged me for an OTP, and I know I'm not going to send it right now. And he's gonna have to try again in the evening when he has a full career. Huh? So he's doing this in spite of that. And then so I just feel like I can't outsource this to like a husband in the future and be like, okay, I'm not going to give you what my mom was giving my dad in terms of the house management, but I'm expecting 110% of what my dad was doing for me and my mom and my family, right? So somewhere it has to balance out.
Yeah. I do think that OTPs are going to be the next power play. I think you can break a person's entire self worth, self conscious, everything. You can, I think it's a great torture tactic. I really do.
If you could curse someone with something, it's like every time they go for a shower, the bell rings and someone calls them at the same time asking for an OTP.
That is
Like-
my fucking, that is atmospheric horror at its highest. It's peaking too hard.
We should make like a horror movie about all these
Yesterday after Paranoia, I was like, I need to make this into a film because this is such a great premise for a film. Like, you know, everyone's in this room, in this cabin, and it's like a snowstorm outside or something, like Krishna Cottage 4, I'm pitching right now. Okay, snowstorm outside. These people have come on a fun vacation, partners, and they start playing Paranoia. Okay, and someone dies. And now they have to figure out.
because there's undercurrents playing out earlier, and then someone says who's the worst dressed person in the room, and then they find out the answer, and then
Yeah.
that person kills them in like
Yeah. ChatGPT, write in style of Gone Girl. Next marketing idea, done. We're done for the year.
Alia
Podcast
Bhatt will
shut.
talk about it soon. The twist.
Oh shit. Niche reference. Thank you.
I would like to read some of our listener stories
Yeah.
because we do ask them, and 2-3 people do answer them sometime. We ask them on our Instagram, so if you don't follow us there, please give us a follow. Hi, Naina and Sakshi. Until a year ago, I was dating a slightly older man who was fixated on marrying me and having children within a strict timeline, while I've always prioritized building my career. For context, I am training to be a solicitor overseas. Amazing. While also balancing full time paralegal work with years of study. Meanwhile, my then boyfriend was struggling in his own career, failing introductory exams, unhappy at work, not getting along with colleagues. He asked me for help and I tried everything, from study plans to exploring alternative paths. He never followed through, then accused me of rubbing my success in his face for achieving what he called the bare minimum. He would start major fights the night before my final exams and even repeatedly call me when I was actively sitting for the exam and leaving angry messages. He would also start fights with me just before my job interviews and claim I was too busy and not contributing enough to the relationship. I told him multiple times I felt suffocated and wanted to end things, but he wouldn't let go. He also insisted his mother wanted him married within 2 years. When I asked her directly, she denied this. He also said he wanted children within a year of marriage to be young enough to enjoy them. He then said the wildest sentence I have ever heard. There will come a time when you have to choose between family and your career. You cannot have both. I hope you aren't stupid enough to make the mistake you are making now. I am willing to give you another chance and wait for you to understand. I laughed and ended it soon after.
Jesus.
And she says, "Thank you for the pod. It's been a source of real sisterhood during some very isolating years." Thank you.
Whew.
But what the fuck? Literally. I feel like this is some sort of like saboteur technique, right? Where you'll make sure that she, just because you are down bad on your luck, you're going to make sure that she's not going to be successful. And then, in spite of your actively sabotaging her life, she has made it so you're like, ye to koi bhi kar, to kar. Like, everyone is like, anyone could have done this, then do it. You have not done it. Nah, that's why people are like, sure, anybody can do it. But the thing is, doing it is different from being able to do it, and the people that are willing to put themselves out there and do it will always win.
Yeah. Wow, Sakshi, sorry, I shouldn't have said yeah. That was beautiful. Can you say that again? Will always
I
win.
forgot.
Oh, it's fine.
Will always win.
When I was single and confused as to what are these unachievable tasks that you have to stop your entire life, like your mother's getting in your way, your girlfriend's getting in your way, your life is getting in your way, what are they to achieve? So I made a list of them. And then I started hacking at it. And it's not that I did one at a time. I was like, okay, I'll put two in this, and put all my assorted basket, and I fucking achieved it. It is not difficult.
Yeah.
Nothing that most people are not trying to achieve. Like High Rocks is the max they want to achieve physically.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
And it's
difficult.
very doable. If you put your mind to anything, it is, I think, doable. Like, obviously, like things like acting and all, or even content, a lot of luck is involved. But that it's not that, oh, I want to reach 1 million followers. Like, I want to upload a video a day. Doable.
I think, and this is my male bashing for the day. I think you're so used to being comfortable that even a tiny amount of discomfort to achieve something you want to do is an absolute no for you. And you cannot hold on to your razai and your pillow and say, oh, I want to achieve these things, because only in that stress moment is when your body is going to make you want to do it and give in to it. Like, it's not going to happen sitting with and trying to hold on to, okay, actually I want to go for a run in the morning as well, and
But I
also
can't do it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can. Like,
and discomfort is something that women are born with. It is something that's genetically passed down to you. If your mother, while you're in her womb, is going through stress, it's in your body. You come out of her womb, they're not very happy. It's you. It's there with you. It's with you. You're living with it. Before you can even put words to it, you know what discomfort feels like.
Yeah.
So discomfort is then something you start figuring out, okay, my life, I have to build in spite of it. And you do. And then you find your female friends, and then you start a podcast, and life is good.
But I do have to say to that confidence is the only thing that you can't teach. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know it holds people back, but the whole thing of like, I'm just going to use content as a sort of this metric, but it's like, if I'm not confident enough to post, then no matter how many people tell me to post, I'm not going to do it, and then it's going to hinder only me. Or like, I can't do this, like, as a thing. It's obviously like everyone knows they can do it, but it's their confidence holding them back, which is so sad, because things are not that deep,
Yeah, I mean, okay, podcast as an example. When we started out, before even setting foot in that room, our first thought was, this is going to be a shit episode
Yeah.
because we're not good at it.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep doing it, and we're going to keep doing it because at least it's out there. At least it's alive. At least it's on the internet. And
Yeah.
we were confident that the more times that you practice that podcast muscle is the more times you're going to get better at it. And now we feel very comfortable when we walk into a room, even if it's a shadi, we're emceeing shadis, even if it's, you're sitting at home. I've gotten a reputation now, this bitch is going to come and ask
Start a
some
game.
Yeah, they're like, uske question shuru ho gaye. Just
I just know when there's like a silence and I want to fill it and I'm thinking of which game should I play. Is it a would you rather? I just know there's a collective internal groan happening. But sometimes it's like, oh, Sakshi, come up with a game
yeah,
now.
you're going to miss us when we're gone.
Where are we going?
Off the internet.
No, we're not going. We're here to stay.
Yeah, we're here to stay.
When I was applying for my postgrad, I had gotten into peace and conflict studies plus international relations. We need this at this point, which was exactly what I wanted and felt deeply aligned with. But around the same time, I found out that my very toxic ex's brother had also been admitted in the same course, and I just couldn't do it. I didn't want the proximity, the shadow of my past, and the emotional mess that would have come with that environment. So I changed my course and enrolled in something else. It was a good program and it worked out in many ways, but it completely altered the trajectory of my academic and professional life. I didn't change it for a man, I changed it because of a man. And I still think about how different things would have been if I hadn't had to make that calculation at all.
I mean, I also don't understand why you changed it because their brother was in the course, and like there's not
I
enough
think
context.
it's just like traumatic that you don't even want to deal with that entire family that bred such a tox. I'm assuming.
It's fully given it a backstory.
No, I'll tell you. For example, this is
Yeah.
obviously this affected careers and all.
Yeah.
But one of my very toxic exes lived in the neighborhood that I grew up in, and I knew the spots he frequented, and I stopped going there because I was like, if I have to run into him, I'm going to like start like shaking. I'm going to start like really freaking out. Now, if I had like say, if I was in the same school as this person or anything, I don't know if I would have been able to relax. Like I would have always been on guard. Or there's also my ex, for example, used to try to keep tabs on where I am. So if his brother was in my class, it would have been so much easier for him to keep tabs. And that's how I also do think that a lot of women are stopped from going to school for safety reasons. Again, that becomes because of men in that environment. I actually was reading Arundhati Roy's book, Mother Mary Comes to Me, and there also she says that a lot of things that happen, like the man who used to come and bang on her door every night, so she just had to work her way around that, which is so scary. And that is a reality for a lot of women, at least in our country, if not the world.
Yeah. If you are feeling bad about what could have been of your career, I think that no decision is a wrong decision. Nothing is irreversible. It's just irritating to remaneuver from the longer route of life. But nothing is lost really at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that you had to back down because somebody's brother wanted to study this job.
Yeah.
That's a fucking sad.
It's really sad. But I also do think that a lot of women drop out of degrees and everything, especially women in sports in India, for example. We know that the Indian women's cricket team is at the top today, but we'll never know. And obviously, this is speculation. We'll never know the struggles that they grew up with and the people that were like, this is not a real job, or this is. And we have a tendency also that once someone is successful, we will give a lot of, like, we take a lot of pride in them as a country, or we give a lot of weightage to what they have to say. But if someone is trying something new, we're like, loser.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying something new. Like, he thinks he can do it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
National heckling.
National Heckling. Like when that one man won in steeplechase, and suddenly the whole country was like, steeplechase is the next big thing. When probably he didn't have money to buy shoes as well. Like, it's crazy. So sad.
I do feel like in a long-term partnership, it's different people are holding weights at different times. So, for example, with my parents, my dad was in the merchant navy. So for the first 10-15 years of their marriage, my dad was taking the financial load. And and then my dad retired, and then my mom was the primary breadwinner, and in a way that my dad wasn't absent, like he was doing all the school drop-offs and things like that. Was he doing it to the proficiency that my mom would do it? Obviously not. That's too much to expect from one generation of change. But he did a fairly good job of like being the parent at home, making sure the kids are their grades aren't slipping, they're doing a good job, etc. And that weight distribution is just okay. Now, if I look at it through like an algorithm or a real situation, they'd be like, oh, he did not show up for his partner, XYZ, XYZ. But my mom loves to work.
Yeah.
Today, every time I go back to Delhi, I'm like, listen, both my sister and I like, quit your job. Let's take care of you. Do something. Go like travel the world. Do something. She just loves to work.
Yeah.
So it's not like if my dad was like, doing the conventional path of life, that my mom would have taken a backseat at any point of time. I think that's totally okay if there are times when your partner and you are doing something that feels against the grain of what other people in your society are doing, as long as you guys have a understanding of what your situation is.
Yeah,
it's totally fine.
but I also do feel because of the society people live in, like it takes a very secure person to be okay with not being affected by what the norm is.
Yeah.
Like anything deviating from the norm, especially because we do live in like a judgmental society, and you can always be like, oh, but you should just be secure. But I mean, anyone who's felt insecurity or jealousy, which I think everyone has at some point, it is such an ugly feeling. And the way you behave, the way you act, the way you say things when you're insecure or jealous, like, are so gross. Like, it's just so disgusting. But there's no shame in feeling the feelings. I feel like ignoring it and acting on it in a way that is or feeding into it rather than removing yourself from the situation, going like, actually I am happy, I don't need to be doing these things. It takes so much self-awareness and so much learning and so much especially when you're being actively fed the opposite content, right?
And also in Indian society, you most often either don't share information or you share negative information, because there's this whole thing that nazar lag jayegi.
Yeah.
But I think half of the battle is like you tire yourself out focusing on the wrong things. And the wrong thing to focus on is convincing everybody that your decision is the right decision.
Yeah.
Like, sabki suno, apni karo. Keep doing your thing. And the only way to get to a successful place is like, once you can make money, once it's profitable,
dude,
everybody comes around.
Yeah.
Everyone fucking comes
but
around.
It's too annoying. Like, if I know I'm smart today,
Yeah.
why do I have to prove it to the world? Like, why can't, you know what I'm saying?
You don't need to prove it to the world. When I went back home, I was cleaning up and I found this letter that I wrote my mom, super angsty in first year of college. And I'm like, I think my mom was really mad at me at that point in time because I didn't pick the better college with a shittier degree. Like, she wanted me to go to LSR. I wanted to go to Miranda House for a history degree. And she's like, no, there's a better network, etc., and you're going to waste your time in North Campus.
Yeah.
Finally, this letter is saying, listen, why can't you give me a break? I know for the first time in my life what I want to do, and that is this course. I might not have it all figured out, but trust me, I'm not so fucking stupid that I would actively pick a decision that would ruin my life. And I was like, wow, I actually looked at it and I was like, I was expecting to get cringed out by that letter. I was like, wow, 17-year-old Naina was actually, she knew what she was talking about, and how have I lost connection to who this person is, because she's so self-assured and I am so confused at all points.
But I mean, I think it's also when you are in college, everyone thinks they're going to succeed, right? Like, so you're like, I know what decisions I'm making, I know where I want to go. But in your adulthood, you find out that not everyone does
Succeeds.
succeed.
Yeah.
So then you're obviously like, I want to be in the half that does succeed.
Mhm.
And which is because a lot of people, as much as you can hear like the I conquered this, I conquered that, and the reels made to Bandaya, Re Bandaya, there are people that never succeed, and that is an
Fact of life.
unfortunate truth. And you could try everything in the whole world, and sometimes your life is just not.
It doesn't work out.
No, maybe next life, maybe the previous life you've done something. I don't know. But it's really like, but
Yeah.
I do think that just because someone has money or is successful does not mean that they have this more weightage in other aspects, you know?
No, it
That-
doesn't.
Like their opinion should not have more weightage in things that are not involving their success.
Yeah, the only reason I think you and I harp about financial independence is because, unfortunately, for a woman to not step back from a career for her partner or be able to say things and people listen to what they're saying, even as simple as our Uber driver today would not take any of the directions that we told him to take, and we got 1 hour late coming to this shoot because every time we said left, he went straight.
Yeah.
And we got stuck in a traffic jam. But just to have the authority to be like, okay, I matter, I count, my thoughts are valid, and I'm going to continue living my life the way I want to
Yeah.
live is why we harp on financial freedom.
Also, we were discussing in the Two Girls, Two Cups podcast, which we did an episode with them. A lot of families, the person who makes the money has the decision making power. Like, I personally know someone, he has a passion for cars, he loves cars. So, their family has all the cars in the world. But his wife loves bags, but she doesn't have any bags because that's not what he views as something to spend money on. But so, and she doesn't have a career of her own. So I feel like that's why women of this generation are like, no, I can't have someone have that kind of power or control over me, and it would like kill me to ask for money. But I don't think that just because I have money, I get to dictate decisions. And I think that's what needs to kind of change. Everyone would be okay with like having a sole breadwinner in the family if still family decisions would be joint.
Yeah, they're not, because there isn't an equitable distribution of respect to different people's tasks. I was thinking about this morning. I was like, why do people, or why did people traditionally force couples into having a kid? Maybe because in an arranged marriage setup and with completely different lives, my priority list and my husband's priority list are totally different. Maybe in my priority list, my career is fourth, but in my husband's, it's first. In mine, our romance is second. In his it's sixth. How will we ever be able to talk to each other until we have like an outside and what I would only describe as a captive reality format, which is childbirth? You have a child and suddenly you are forced by the laws of nature to be on the same page.
The worst way to get on the same page in the world.
Because you end up in different books.
And your child ends up not being a normal person with a healthy attachment style. That much, so I can say.
Yeah.
But it's also, I don't know, were you there? Who were we talking to when I was like, would your dad, I think one of the parents had to quit their careers. And I said, like, but would your dad ever have quit the career for the mom? And he said, no, because my dad makes more money than my mom. And obviously, the person who makes lesser money is the one who should quit if someone has to quit their careers. But why does your dad make more money than your mom, right?
I would just like to say that Steve Carell of Office fame only got successful at the age of 40. Why was he not forced to quit his career early on and become a clerk? I don't know.
Or become a house husband.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. Why?
I mean, I don't know, because I have never been able to swallow that. I can't do it. Like, you know.
I feel like I could quit my career, but I would like, it would require a lot. you know, for me, I've always come from the place like things need to be done. I don't care if I'm like, if I have XYZ requirement, I am going to need XYZ, whether I'm like a contributing member or a not contributing member. These are things I will not compromise on. So if I'm being handed those things when I need them, then I could be like, okay, then I don't need to contribute. But the thing is, I also know that the things I want, only I will be able, like if like if someone says no for even one of those things, then it's absolutely not like everyone's gonna pay for this. So I would rather be the one paying for it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
specifically for you, I understand exactly what you're saying. Hell will.
I have a friend actually,
Yeah.
now that I think about it, that moved back to India because she was dating someone for a really long time, and he said, I can't do long distance anymore. Will you please move back? And she had a high paying job there. She had everything sorted. She said, I'm going to move back. I'm going to get a job here that I'm confident of. The salaries obviously aren't comparable. I'm not going to take a penny from my parents. Whatever my lifestyle was there, it has to be here. And because I'm moved back for you, I'm assuming we're going to get married, and I need XYZ things, and I'm not going to ask more than once. And if you are not able to fulfill it, I will move on with my life, and I will know that you are not the person for me, but I'm willing to make the sacrifice, and this is what I need for you. Touch wood, her and her partner are very happy, and she did get what she wanted. But the thing with every negotiation is, unfortunately, you have to be willing to walk away, which is what she had in her this thing.
Yeah,
It
that's.
wasn't a bluff.
Yeah. Willing to walk away is too hard. Like Sakshi is good at negotiations. Where I used to get stuck in negotiations, even before wanting to walk away of not wanting to walk away, is I was never honest with myself with what my priorities are.
Yeah.
If you are not honest with yourself, how can you even enter a negotiation? What are you putting on the table? Your bluff is called in the first second and you can't even walk away.
Yeah.
So know what you want, and it's okay if you want a soft life, you want to, you want to prioritize homemaking, you want to prioritize something entirely different. That's totally okay, but that should be something that is an empowered choice. It shouldn't be something that someone's
Forced
forcing
upon
on you.
you.
Because I have the ulta, where like I feel like my parents instilled so much career drive in both my sister and I, that we are at a place now where our own ambition feels scary to admit. Because
Yeah.
nothing, like my ambition feels like a tornado, and
Yeah.
everything that comes in its way gets shredded. Like there's no bias or
No.
empathy in any direction. Like, ye mujhe chahiye, main kyun na karu?
Fair enough. I get the appeal of that because
I mean, but then sometimes you're just sitting alone. You're like, but no one around me is feeling this exact way. Like your girlfriends tap out at different times. Someone tapped out at 24, someone tapped out at 30, someone's tapped out at 35. So I'm like, okay, finally the room becomes really silent and empty. Your friends are very supportive and they can be with you and they can vicariously live through you as well. But they will never be in your shoes and you'll never be in their shoes.
yeah. But I feel like that's okay as long as everyone had the choice at some
Yeah.
point. But I
I
last
thought you were going to say as long as everyone's in cute shoes.
sure.
Yeah.
But so basically, I think a couple of months ago, I was really down about how, I have some friends and some people in my life whose parents are so supportive. Like, whatever you want, they're like, we are there for you. And I was like, that is an advantage, or that is a weight that you either have or you don't. But that is the biggest advantage in your life that you will get, is supportive parents. And if you don't have that, or like, parents that are not trying to like fulfill their dreams through you, or like going like, I have these regrets and I'm going to make sure that you don't have those regrets, so I'm going to put that burden on you. I feel like that is the worst thing you can do to your kid.
But I feel like even support too, like if you're too supportive and you don't instill awareness in your kid, is such a fault. Like I had a friend who went to college abroad. Parents have taken a loan, of course, of like at least 2 CR to send the kid there, right? Has gone there. and has decided this is a great time to become a pothead, right? So he skipped all of his classes because Canadian weed, like, so
Ooh.
now is a pothead. By the end of the semester, he's been caught. He's been sent back home. He's come back home. His parents have found him a new college and he's entered that college. No consequence conversation. No conversation about what the fuck is wrong with you, you idiot.
No, that's not right.
That's not right.
Yeah, then you're raising a dumbass. Sorry.
He's already raised. So it's fine now. It's done.
Yeah, fair.
Dude, my last therapy session, I was talking to my therapist about exam. I was like, our last shoot day, I discovered something really scary, which was that when we were talking, and to give context, we had one guest episode and our guest fell ill. So we had to make an episode up on the spot, which actually was number one. So I don't know, maybe we should just come super unplanned to every shoot day. But in that episode, I realized that I've reached a point where I'm speaking faster than I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's coming out of my mouth. And I'm really happy that it's here in a safe space where the edit is in our control. But like, that's a very scary feeling to have.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I do realize that sometimes as we start a sentence, we don't know where it's going to end. And I'm not sure I would agree with everything we've said in the past, but I definitely think it is like, giving your friends advice. You just find it as you're talking because it's a convo.
Never taking advice from you ever again.
I don't think I give advice. Do I give advice?
I've become a passive entity and Sakshi's like wanting to be enabled for her decision making.
No. You're not enabling me in any capacity.
Bro, the last few times you've been talking, okay, about things that you're like the jokes that you're cracking with your boyfriend. And you're like, isn't that so funny?
No, one second.
My pizza sweating. I booked my Botox apartment.
I will have to say, yes. Yeah. Basically, I have a really sick, disgusting sense of humor. And obviously, I would say the biggest victim of the sense of humor is my boyfriend. And to his credit, he has a really good ability to ignore the sick things I say. But to my credit, I have a really good ability to
persevere.
Yeah. To entice a reaction is what I wanted to say. So I've been cracking some sick jokes. He has not been enjoying them. But objectively, if you don't care about my boyfriend, it is funny. But Naina,
I have booked my armpit Botox appointment. I'm leaving it at that.
You like Arjun and you're like, I can't sit and have someone be such a victim.
Arjun is like that monkey that's going viral on the internet. Bechara, he's holding on for dear life.
No, he's so sweet. I really need to stop abusing him.
Yesterday, when the treasure hunt began, we realized we left our weakest player alone with Sakshi at the beginning. We were like, this plan is not working out at all.
No, I'm learning empathy as we speak.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's a data or it's some practical exam.
No, I'm working on it. But with my
therapist.
No, I stopped therapy.
Because? Let's tell them why you stopped therapy.
I was really waiting for a diagnosis, okay? Because I was like, been talking to this guy for 2 years now. He's not told me anything. So I was like, so, what's wrong with me? And he was like, I think you're just a brat. I think you're entitled. I think you think you deserve things that you don't actually deserve, but you still want them anyway. So you're a brat. And unfortunately, people enjoy it because you are funny while you're doing it. So now I'm trying to be less funny and more empathetic and rather think about the people in my life than think about the joke that would have been so funny and so cool.
Maza nahi aaya. Okay, to end this on something my therapist told me about a diagnosis.
Oh.
She said, do you know what the definition of normal in psychology is? there is no definition of normal in psychology.
Mm.
But there are parameters that you can look at to gauge how normal you are. Those two parameters are your ability to love and your ability to achieve. And at any point in someone's life, if you're going through something, if a event has happened to you, something has not gone your way, etc., any of these parameters can change. So anybody has the ability to be mentally unwell at any point of time. So there's nothing wrong with you. You can have depressive tendencies, you can have narcissistic tendencies, but there's a way that you can balance yourself out depending on what kind of company you keep, what kind of life decisions you're making. So always pick yourself and
Yeah. I
keep
feel
listening
like
to this
knowing
podcast.
yourself is actually
Yeah.
a big advantage. Like where you're like, okay, I am feeling XYZ way and I need to sit with it and then fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note.
On that note, sit with this podcast, subscribe to it, follow it, hype it, and we really do love you. And one more time, happy birthday, Sakshi.
Thank you.
We love you. You are the backbone and the fat ass of this podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.